Hey, what's up, guys? We got a packed video today full of welding and tube fabrication. We got a lot of the back half tied in and tacked in. We got all the supporting tubes down to the frame. We got all the shock mounts welded in, and we moved on to the B pillar, got the B pillar welded in, and we're working on the halo and the C pillar now. It's all coming together pretty nicely, but it has been a lot of cutting, notching, grinding, test fitting, and sometimes just plain starting over. So sit back, we got a good one, let's go get it. With the rear back half pretty much tacked together and already lined up down at the bottom frame plate, so we've moved inside the cage to start, or inside the cab to start building the cage. And there's going to be 3 pillars. You're going to have obviously your A pillar, your B pillar, and your C pillar. We're making the B pillar be basically the main foundation. It's going to be the highest point in the roof, and so we figured that's what we're going to tie into from the C and the B. The halo, we got a prefab halo down here that we got to try and fit up here in the roof, and until we know where this piece is going to live, we're not really sure like where we need to cut on that. So this piece got all burned in yesterday. We cut the holes in the floor. Today we're working on mounting this guy to the frame. Once this is solid and connected, the rest of it will start taking shape pretty quickly. All of the holes have been drilled for the various pillars to come through. So we're gonna work on the mount here, work on the upper, on the halos, and then start working on connecting like door bars and kicker bars and things like that. So back here, basically got all the tubes in. I don't know if you guys can see here. I'm gonna go around to the other side. You can show them on here. So these tubes are what's connecting down here to this, and they're not tacked. This is purely being held by just the weight of the back half, pretty much. But clearance-wise between the bypass tubes, clearance-wise between the springs, everything lined up nicely. This was a major checkpoint, because getting this in and then being able to connect it to this pillar is going to give us the whole superstructure. So it may not look like much work is being done, but we are accomplishing a ton. It's a lot of time spent on fitment and really thinking out, how you want it to flow. It's fun though, we're having a good time with it. Yeah, today build some body mounts down off of these, and hopefully get the B pillar, the halo connected up this week.
What'd you do?
So that's about how it's gonna sit, right about there, maybe a little bit like that. Yeah, this thing's gonna be a bomber. That tube's too short, dude. John did a killer job getting everything notched and lined up. And I've been tweaking with settings for a few days, just working on different settings on the welder to get the best looking weld we can. I think we're pretty close, so let's just let's give it a rip. So we have the B pillar where we want it, and we'll show you in a minute what we're gonna do, but we're basically gonna use the plate as like flags to tie the B pillar to the frame. So practice makes perfect. I want to dial in the welder before we dive under there, so I've just cut a bunch of plate. I'm just practicing laying down a bead. I'm alternating between basically doing a side-to-side whip down the 2 pieces, or doing a drag and pull, drag and pull, drag and pull down. So far, I think the drag and pull is winning. The challenge we're going to have, it's a different thickness frame than it is the tube, so I'm gonna have to moderate the heat that goes into each piece. That's just all the little things you think about when you're welding, and that's how you keep getting better and better, is learning how to adapt to all that stuff. That's not my strength, but I'm working on it. That's why I'm practicing. That's decent. Ton of prep went into this. So get all the mill scale off, get it down to shiny metal on both sides, hit it with acetone, make sure your welding nozzle is clean, make sure your wire's clean, and you'll reduce the amount of spatter you get off the thing. Yeah, now I need to leather up because I was getting burned, and that leads to bad welds.
Yeah, and you're about to sit underneath it.
Yeah. There's the B-pillar dropping through the floor. You can see once again we've done that sleeve method where we're giving ourselves a nice big fat, look at that, that is half inch or quarter inch, inch and a half tube. B-pillar's looking nice and clean. Once we get this guy all in, we're gonna be able to start building off of it, which will be cool because then we'll be able to come back here and start tying all this together, and then it's gonna start moving quicker. It's painstaking at this point though. It's fatty. It ain't going nowhere.
Got that tie down down.
B-pillar went in really, really nicely. This came out exactly how I kind of envisioned it. And then down below, you can see how these are all held on. Moving back here to the C-pillar, we're gonna have a kicker bar, door bar right here. But next up is gonna be getting the halo in. So John's gonna cut this because it's a little too long as it stands right now. So in a perfect world, I would have this tube T a notch right here, but then you can't weld it very well. And this is gonna be a critical part of the cage. So being able to get a full 360-degree weld around it is important. And this little jog of plate off of the cage will not only act as a gusset, but also give us a really hot fat weld. I like it a lot. One of the most significant challenges so far with this build has been the fact that the cage was prefab, meaning that the owner sent all the measurements that he took to a dude on the East Coast who then took those measurements and made a roll cage out of it. And now we're putting that roll cage together, and there's zero instructions. So it's proven very difficult to figure what goes where and how it should line up. We're basically relying on the notches to do that. So we've thrown out a few pieces that we're just like, this isn't gonna work. For example, I do not think that the A-pillars, you can see the A-pillar sticking up through the floor right there. I do not think the A-pillars were cut right to meet up to the halo. I also think the halo is a little narrow. I think it could have been about half an inch wider and it would have fit. We could slug and sleeve it right there, so we could cut this in half and be able to widen it a little bit. But what starts to happen is you can't get a full weld around here. It proves challenging to put a roll cage in when you can't get your gun between the cab and the cage to get a good weld. And good welds are what lends all the strength to the roll cage. So having this little piece of plate in there, that's going to give us a place to tie in both the halo, get a full weld around it, and also it's going to strengthen the junction with the gusset. So it's kind of a win-win. Yeah, but a bunch of this stuff, we've used as much tubing as we can because the guy did pay for it, but to some where it's not worth all the headaches and hassle to try and make it work when we can just cut and bend our own. But progress is progress, it's coming together.
Rock and roll.
We got quite a lot of work ahead of us, but we got a lot accomplished this week, and it's thanks in large part to this Harbor Freight welder. I'm gonna link a video up here to a review I did on this welder when I picked it up. It's now going on like 5 years. I've got like 3 trucks underneath it. It just continues to deliver. So I thought it was worth bringing that to your attention again. I know Harbor Freight gets a lot of bad press, but this welder has dominated for me. So check that out. We'll be back at you soon with more videos on this. And I've also got a trip video I want to show you guys where the Blazer kind of let me down. And I've spent the last month fixing it. But that's for another video. In the meanwhile, take a look at that video. I'll link it up here again for the Harbor Freight welder. Give me a subscribe and we'll see you next week.